The lawyer nodded at me when she toasted her own parents. He'd seen what I did with the final clause. The November wind howled through the streets of downtown Boston as I adjusted my dress uniform for what would be my final ceremony as captain of the 12th Precinct. After 35 years of service, I was retiring at 58, not by choice, but because of a diagnosis that had changed everything. The Parkinson's tremor in my left hand had become impossible to hide, and departmental policy was clear about officers with progressive neurological conditions. My career was over, but tonight's retirement dinner would be my last official act as a Boston Police Department captain. The grand ballroom at the Fairmont Copley Plaza was filled with colleagues, city officials, and family members who had gathered to honor my decades of service to the community. My wife Sarah sat at the head table, radiant in her navy dress, while our 3 children had flown in from various parts of the country to attend the ceremony. The room buzzed with conversations about cases I had solved, officers I had mentored, and the various initiatives I had implemented to improve community relations during my tenure as captain. If this story is resonating with you, please take a moment to comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Give this video a like and subscribe to our channel because we genuinely help families navigate these challenging life transitions. Your support enables us to continue sharing these important stories about finding purpose after unexpected life changes. What none of the attendees knew, including my own family, was that tucked inside my jacket pocket was a letter from Morrison and Caldwell Estate Planning that would fundamentally alter not just my retirement, but the lives of several people in that room. 3 months earlier, I had received news that my Uncle Patrick, whom I had barely known growing up, had passed away and named me as the primary beneficiary of his considerable estate. The inheritance totaled nearly $8 million, accumulated through decades of successful real estate investments throughout New England. Uncle Patrick had been the black sheep of our Irish Catholic family, choosing business over marriage and children, moving to Maine after college and rarely visiting Boston except for funerals and weddings. Most of our relatives had written him off as selfish and materialistic, more interested in making money than maintaining family relationships. My own father had often criticized Patrick's lifestyle, calling him a man who chose dollars over family during holiday gatherings when Patrick's absence was particularly noticeable. The inheritance had come with specific instructions that I was to use the funds to right old wrongs and help those who truly deserve support, not those who merely expect it because of blood relations. Patrick's will included detailed character assessments of various family members, revealing that he had been quietly observing our family dynamics for decades, forming opinions about who deserved his generosity based on their actions rather than their words or their position in the family hierarchy. For 3 months, I had struggled with how to handle this unexpected windfall while dealing with my own health challenges and the emotional difficulty of ending a career that had defined my identity since I graduated from the police academy at 23. The Parkinson's diagnosis had been devastating enough, but the inheritance had created an additional layer of complexity as I tried to process grief, anger, and suddenly having more money than I had ever imagined possessing. Tonight's retirement ceremony had attracted several family members who rarely attended such events, including my cousin Rebecca Morrison, a successful corporate lawyer who had driven down from her firm's offices in Portland, Maine. Rebecca was Patrick's niece through his sister's marriage, and she had made no secret over the years of her expectation that she would inherit the bulk of his estate due to her financial success and her occasional visits to his Maine property during summer holidays. Rebecca had always been the family member who measured success strictly in financial terms, often making comments about other relatives' career choices and lifestyle decisions that revealed her belief that material wealth was the primary indicator of personal worth. She had graduated from Harvard Law School 15 years earlier and specialized in corporate mergers and acquisitions, earning a substantial income that she frequently referenced during family gatherings as evidence of her superior life choices. During the cocktail hour before dinner, Rebecca had cornered me near the bar to express her condolences about Uncle Patrick's death, while simultaneously fishing for information about the estate settlement. Her questions were carefully worded but clearly designed to determine whether I knew anything about Patrick's financial affairs and his intentions for distributing his assets after his death. She seemed confident that her legal background and her history of visiting Patrick would position her as the primary beneficiary. The dinner portion of the evening included several speeches from city officials, fellow officers, and community leaders who praised my service record and expressed gratitude for my contributions to public safety in Boston. The police commissioner presented me with a plaque commemorating my 35 years of service, highlighting my work in community policing initiatives and my role in solving several high-profile cases that had enhanced the department's reputation and community trust. My wife Sarah gave an emotional speech about the sacrifices our family had made during my law enforcement career, including the long hours, the dangerous situations, and the constant worry that came with being married to a police officer. She spoke beautifully about my dedication to justice and my commitment to protecting others, even when it meant missing family dinners, school events, and vacations because duty called and the community needed protection. As the evening progressed, Rebecca became increasingly animated after several glasses of wine, and her comments about family members became more pointed and critical. She made remarks about our cousin Tommy, who worked as a high school teacher, suggesting that his career choice demonstrated a lack of ambition and financial wisdom. She also criticized our Aunt Margaret, who had spent her career as a social worker, implying that people who chose helping professions were naive about the realities of economic success. The turning point came during the toast portion of the evening, when Rebecca stood to offer what she described as a tribute to family values and personal achievement. Her speech began appropriately enough, acknowledging my service to the community and the importance of law enforcement in maintaining social order. However, she quickly shifted to discussing what she called the hierarchy of success within families, and the importance of recognizing and rewarding those who had achieved financial and professional distinction. "It's important," Rebecca said, raising her glass and looking around the room, "to acknowledge that some family members make choices that benefit everyone, while others make choices that require the rest of us to provide support and assistance throughout their lives." Uncle Patrick understood this principle, and he always appreciated family members who demonstrated independence and success, rather than expecting handouts or relying on others for their security. She continued her toast by suggesting that successful family members had a responsibility to guide and support those who had made less practical career choices, such as public service or education. Her words were carefully chosen to sound generous and supportive, but the underlying message was clear. She viewed herself as superior to family members who had chosen careers focused on service rather than financial gain. The room grew uncomfortable as Rebecca's toast became increasingly condescending toward people like me, who had dedicated their careers to public service rather than private sector success. She mentioned specifically that police officers, teachers, and social workers were admirable but ultimately dependent on others for their financial security, implying that we lacked the intelligence or ambition to achieve true independence through business success. My daughter Katie, who worked as a pediatric nurse in Philadelphia, looked visibly upset by Rebecca's comments, and I could see my son Michael, a firefighter in Worcester, clenching his jaw as Rebecca continued her demeaning characterization of public service careers. My youngest son David, who was finishing medical school, appeared shocked by the cruelty and arrogance of his cousin's words, clearly struggling to understand how someone could be so dismissive of careers dedicated to helping others. The final straw came when Rebecca concluded her toast by saying, "I'm grateful that Uncle Patrick recognized the importance of rewarding family members who demonstrated real success and independence, rather than those who spent their careers depending on taxpayers for their paychecks and will need family support during retirement because they never learned to provide for themselves adequately." The silence that followed was deafening. My wife's face had gone pale with anger and humiliation, and several of my police colleagues looked stunned by the cruelty and insensitivity of Rebecca's public attack on my career and financial situation. The implication that I was somehow a family burden because of my public service career was particularly painful given my diagnosis and the uncertainty it had created about our retirement security. That was the moment I decided to act on Uncle Patrick's instructions to right old wrongs and help those who truly deserve support. I stood up slowly, reached into my jacket pocket, and pulled out the letter from Morrison and Caldwell estate planning that had been burning a hole in my conscience for 3 months. The room watched in curious silence as I unfolded the document and prepared to share information that would fundamentally change the dynamic of our family gathering. "Rebecca," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hand, "I have something that I think you should know about Uncle Patrick's estate and his final wishes regarding our family." I held up the letter so that everyone could see the official letterhead and legal formatting. 3 months ago, I received notification that Patrick named me as the sole beneficiary of his estate, which totaled just over $8 million in real estate holdings, investments, and cash assets. The color drained from Rebecca's face as she processed this information, clearly realizing that all of her assumptions about the inheritance had been completely wrong. Her confident demeanor crumbled as she understood that the uncle she had visited and cultivated, hoping to secure his financial legacy, had ultimately chosen to leave his fortune to the cousin she had just publicly insulted and dismissed as financially inadequate. I continued reading from Uncle Patrick's letter, which included his detailed explanation of his decision-making process. Patrick wrote that he had observed our family dynamics for decades and wanted to ensure that his wealth went to someone who had dedicated their life to serving others rather than accumulating personal wealth. He specifically mentioned that he had been disgusted by family members who measured success only in financial terms and looked down on those who chose careers in public service. The room remained absolutely silent as I shared more of Patrick's reasoning, including his observation that Rebecca Morrison represents everything that is wrong with modern American values, prioritizing personal wealth over community service and treating family members as potential financial resources rather than human beings deserving of respect and support, regardless of their career choices or economic circumstances. Patrick's letter went on to praise my career in law enforcement and my commitment to protecting the community, even when it meant accepting lower pay and greater personal risk than I could have earned in private sector employment. He had apparently followed my career through newspaper articles and police department newsletters, taking pride in my promotions and the various commendations I had received for distinguished service to the Boston community. The inheritance letter also revealed that Patrick had been secretly supporting several charitable organizations focused on helping police officers, firefighters, teachers, and other public service workers who had been injured or were struggling financially during retirement. He had established these charitable relationships specifically because he believed that people who dedicated their careers to serving others deserved support from those who had been financially successful in business pursuits. Rebecca sat down heavily in her chair, clearly stunned by the revelation that her years of cultivating what she thought was a profitable relationship with Uncle Patrick had been completely misguided. Her confidence and sense of superiority had evaporated as she realized that her own character and values had been found wanting by the very person whose approval and financial support she had been seeking. The final portion of Patrick's letter contained specific instructions for how I should use the inheritance, including a directive to support family members who demonstrate genuine character and compassion, while ensuring that those who value money above relationships understand the consequences of their choices. He had included detailed character assessments of various family members, revealing years of careful observation and moral evaluation. One particularly pointed section of the letter addressed Rebecca directly. Rebecca Morrison has spent her entire adult life believing that financial success makes her superior to family members who chose careers in service to others. She has consistently demonstrated arrogance, materialism, and a fundamental lack of respect for the contributions that police officers, teachers, firefighters, and social workers make to our communities. She represents everything that is wrong with American capitalism when it loses sight of human values. The room remained silent as I folded the letter and returned it to my jacket pocket. Rebecca had not spoken since I began reading Patrick's words, and her earlier confidence had been completely replaced by shame and humiliation as she realized that her true character had been exposed not just to me, but to everyone present at what was supposed to be my retirement celebration. My wife Sarah reached over and squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with tears of pride and relief as she realized that our retirement security had been dramatically transformed by Uncle Patrick's generosity and wisdom. Our children looked amazed and grateful, understanding that their father's lifetime of service had been recognized and rewarded in ways that none of us had ever imagined possible. Over the following weeks, I used Patrick's inheritance to establish the Public Service Family Foundation, dedicated to supporting police officers, firefighters, teachers, paramedics, and other public service workers who were facing financial hardship due to injuries, illness, or retirement challenges. The foundation's first grant went to a firefighter in Somerville who had been injured fighting a warehouse fire and was struggling to support his family on disability payments. The foundation also provided emergency assistance to the widow of a police officer who had been killed in the line of duty, helping her pay for her children's college education and maintain the family home. We funded scholarship programs for children of public service workers who wanted to pursue careers in education, healthcare, or law enforcement, continuing the cycle of service that Uncle Patrick had valued so highly. 6 months after the retirement dinner, Rebecca sent me a letter attempting to apologize for her behavior and requesting a meeting to discuss family reconciliation, and mutual support. Her letter was carefully worded and legally precise, but it was clear that her primary motivation was financial rather than genuine remorse for her cruel and arrogant treatment of family members who had chosen service careers over financial success. I responded to Rebecca's letter by explaining that Uncle Patrick's inheritance came with moral responsibilities that extended beyond our immediate family to the broader community of public service workers who deserved recognition and support. I offered to make a donation to a charity of her choice if she would commit to volunteering with organizations that supported police officers, firefighters, teachers, or other service workers for at least 1 year. Rebecca never responded to my offer, and she has not attended any family gatherings since the retirement dinner. According to other family members, she has struggled with the realization that her lifelong pursuit of financial success and social status had ultimately cost her the inheritance she had expected and the respect of relatives who had once admired her professional achievements. 2 years after Uncle Patrick's death, the Public Service Family Foundation had distributed over $1 million in grants and assistance to public service workers and their families throughout New England. The foundation's work has been featured in several newspaper articles and has inspired similar initiatives in other states, demonstrating the ripple effect of Patrick's decision to reward service over self-interest. My Parkinson's disease has progressed, but the foundation work has given me a sense of purpose and accomplishment that has helped me adapt to retirement and the physical limitations that come with my condition. Working with other retired public service workers to identify and assist families in need has provided meaning and structure to my days, while allowing me to continue serving the community in a different capacity. The inheritance that Rebecca assumed would be hers has instead become a tool for supporting the very people she had dismissed as financially unsuccessful and socially dependent. Uncle Patrick's wisdom in recognizing that true success comes from service to others rather than accumulation of personal wealth has been validated through the foundation's work and the positive impact it has had on hundreds of families. 3 years after that memorable retirement dinner, I was invited to speak at the Massachusetts Public Safety Awards ceremony, where I shared the story of Uncle Patrick's inheritance and his belief that society's true heroes are the men and women who dedicate their careers to protecting and serving others. The audience included hundreds of police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and their families who found inspiration in the idea that their service was valued and would be remembered. In my speech, I talked about the importance of recognizing that wealth and success come in many forms, and that the most meaningful contributions to society often come from those who choose service over self-enrichment. I shared Uncle Patrick's observation that people who dedicate their careers to helping others deserve support and recognition from those who have been financially successful in other fields. The ceremony concluded with the announcement that the Public Service Family Foundation would be expanding its programs to include mental health support for public service workers dealing with PTSD, addiction, and other challenges that come with careers spent dealing with trauma and human suffering. The expansion was made possible by additional donations from business leaders who had been inspired by Uncle Patrick's example and wanted to support the men and women who keep our communities safe. Today, 5 years after Rebecca's cruel toast revealed her true character and Uncle Patrick's inheritance transformed my retirement, the foundation has become a model for supporting public service workers throughout the country. We have assisted over 500 families, funded dozens of scholarships, and created support programs that have been adopted by other organizations dedicated to helping police officers, firefighters, teachers, and emergency responders. Rebecca's assumption that she deserved Uncle Patrick's inheritance because of her financial success had blinded her to the values that he actually treasured: humility, service, compassion, and genuine concern for others. Her public humiliation at my retirement dinner had been the result of her own arrogance and materialism, not any deliberate cruelty on my part or Uncle Patrick's. The lawyer who had toasted her own superiority over family members who chose service careers had discovered that the uncle she thought she understood had been quietly evaluating character rather than bank accounts. Her dismissive attitude toward public service workers had cost her not just $8 million, but also the respect of family members who had witnessed her true nature during what should have been a celebration of dedication and service. Uncle Patrick's final clause requiring that his inheritance be used to support deserving people rather than entitled relatives had created a legacy that continues to grow and impact lives throughout New England. The foundation bearing his name has become a testament to his belief that true wealth lies in the ability to help others, and that the most important contributions to society come from those who choose service over self-interest. My career as a police captain had ended because of Parkinson's disease, but Uncle Patrick's inheritance had given me the resources to begin a new career as an advocate for public service workers and their families. The tremor in my hand had forced me to retire from active duty, but it had not prevented me from continuing to serve the community through foundation work and charitable initiatives. The woman who had stood at my retirement dinner and declared herself superior to family members who chose service careers had learned that her uncle's approval could not be bought with occasional visits and strategic relationship management. Her assumption that financial success automatically translated into moral worth had been revealed as hollow and misguided when measured against Uncle Patrick's actual values and priorities. The inheritance that Rebecca had expected to receive based on her professional achievements and her cultivation of Uncle Patrick's friendship had instead gone to the cousin she had publicly dismissed as financially unsuccessful and dependent on others for security. Her cruel words had revealed her character at the exact moment when that character was being evaluated for the most important decision Uncle Patrick would ever make. The $8 million that she had assumed would be hers had become the foundation for supporting hundreds of families whose breadwinners had chosen careers in service to others. Uncle Patrick's legacy had become a celebration of the values that Rebecca had dismissed, proving that true success is measured not by personal wealth but by positive impact on others' lives. If this story has touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you. Please take a moment to comment below and let us know where you are watching from, as well as your thoughts on family dynamics like this. Every perspective matters, because stories like these remind us that while families may face struggles, challenges, and even heartbreak, there is always an opportunity for healing, connection, and growth. By sharing your own reflections, you not only add to the conversation but also create a ripple effect of encouragement for others who may be experiencing something similar. When you engage, whether it's through commenting, liking, or subscribing, you are helping us build a space where families can feel less alone and more supported. Many people silently carry burdens within their homes, and often just hearing that someone else understands can provide an enormous sense of relief and hope. This channel is more than a platform for stories. It's a community where resilience, compassion, and solidarity take center stage. Your support allows us to continue creating and sharing content that uplifts, inspires, and shines a light on the very real challenges that families go through. We believe that even in the most difficult circumstances, there are lessons to be learned and strength to be found. And together, by engaging with these stories, we can remind one another that no family has to navigate their journey in isolation. So please, if this message resonates with you, don't hesitate to leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you're not just supporting us. You're standing with countless families around the world who find courage and comfort in knowing that they are part of a wider circle of understanding and care. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for helping us continue to share these powerful stories of resilience and hope.